What you are about to hear was never supposed to leak, but it did. And once you know it, you cannot unknow it. Hello, friends. My name is James, and you are watching Royal Daily Report, your number one source for the most exclusive, most shocking, and most talked about royal stories on the internet. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now because you do not want to miss what we have coming. And if you have been here from the beginning, you already know. We never stop. We never hold back. And tonight is no different. Let us get into it. Somewhere in Montecito, California, two children are growing up faster than anyone outside their home realizes. Archie is 7 now. Lilibet is 4, soon turning 5. And according to royal author Phil Dampier, the question that nobody wants to ask out loud is becoming impossible to avoid. What happens when these two children get old enough to start asking why? Why they have never met their cousins? Why their grandfather, the King of England, is a stranger to them? Why their other grandfather, Thomas Markle, is also a stranger to them? Why an entire family, on both sides, feels like a closed door they were born standing in front of? Tonight we are telling you the full story of Archie and Lilibet, not as symbols in a royal feud, but as two real children whose identity, whose sense of family, and whose entire understanding of who they are is being shaped right now, in real time, by decisions made by adults who cannot agree on anything. This is Royal Daily Report, and tonight, this story is about the two people at the very center of everything. Let us start with something small but genuinely touching, because it tells you more about this family than any headline ever could. Despite living thousands of miles from Buckingham Palace, despite growing up almost entirely outside the institution they were born into, Archie and Lilibet call their father one specific name. Papa. Not Dad. Papa. The exact same word that Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis use for their own father, William. It is a small detail, but Woman and Home magazine described it as a sweet and meaningful connection to the royal family that has somehow survived everything else. Meghan herself confirmed it directly. During an appearance on Jamie Kern-Lima's podcast in April, she read aloud a letter written by her children, with a little help from Harry, in which they referred to him as Papa. Think about that. A word, passed down through generations of this family, carried across an entire ocean, surviving a security battle, a memoir, a Netflix documentary, and 6 years of public estrangement. Archie and Lilibet do not know the politics behind that word. They just know it is what they call their father. And in a story defined by distance and rupture, that one unbroken thread matters. If you want to understand exactly how differently these two children have grown up, subscribe to Royal Daily Report right now. Because what comes next reveals just how separate their lives have actually been. Now let us talk about the difference between Archie's early life and Lilibet's. Because it is genuinely striking, and it tells the story of this family's unraveling in real time. Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor was born in May 2019, while Harry and Meghan were still senior working royals. His christening took place in the private chapel at Windsor Castle. It was an intimate service, but it was attended by the Prince and Princess of Wales, by King Charles, then still Prince of Wales, by Queen Camilla, and by Princess Diana's own sisters, Lady Jane Fellows and Lady Sarah McCorquodale. Official portraits were released. Archie was photographed in the same christening gown previously worn by his older cousins, George, Charlotte, and Louis. At 2 months old, he was pictured out at a polo match with his mother, his Aunt Catherine, and his cousin Louis. George and Charlotte were there too. For a brief window, Archie's life looked exactly like what a senior royal grandchild's life was supposed to look like. Then everything changed. Lilibet was born in June 2021 in California after Harry and Meghan had already stepped back from royal life. Her christening did not happen at Windsor. It happened at the Sussex's own home in Montecito when she was 21 months old. No member of the royal family attended, though Hello magazine reports they were invited. She did not wear the same gown her cousins wore. She has, to this day, never been publicly photographed alongside the Wales family. William and Catherine did congratulate Harry and Meghan publicly when she was born, writing on Instagram, "We are all delighted by the happy news of the arrival of baby Lily. Congratulations to Harry, Meghan, and Archie." But a kind Instagram message is not the same as growing up inside a family. Two siblings, born just 2 years apart, who experience two completely different versions of what it means to be a royal grandchild. Like this video right now if this is the first time you have seen just how different Archie and Lilibet's early lives actually were. And subscribe to Royal Daily Report, because what comes next is about the one and only time Lilibet has ever truly met her grandfather. June 2022. The Platinum Jubilee. Lilibet's first ever trip to her father's homeland, timed to coincide, almost poetically, with her own first birthday. During that visit, the late Queen Elizabeth and her great-granddaughter, who carried her own beloved childhood nickname, reportedly met for the first and only time before the monarch passed away later that same year. And it was during this same trip that Lilibet was introduced, for the first time, to her grandfather, Charles, the man his other grandchildren affectionately call Grandpa Wales. A senior royal source described that meeting with genuine warmth. They said it was, quote, very emotional, and that Charles and Camilla were, quote, absolutely thrilled to spend time with Harry, Meghan, and the children. The source added something quietly devastating when you sit with it. They said Charles had, of course, not seen his grandson Archie for some time either, and so it was very, very, very special to have some time with him. Read that again. A king, in his own family's words, was not simply meeting a new granddaughter for the first time. He was also reuniting with a grandson he had been separated from for an unknown stretch of time. That single visit, in June 2022, remains the last confirmed time Charles has seen either of these two children in person. Lilibet has never returned to Britain since. She has no memory of that meeting. She was 1 year old. Do not go anywhere. Subscribe to Royal Daily Report and turn on those notifications, because what comes next is the most important part of this entire story. What happens when these children get old enough to start asking questions themselves? Royal author Phil Dampier raised something in a piece for The Sun that deserves serious attention, because it shifts this entire conversation away from palace politics and towards something far more human. He wrote that as Archie and Lilibet get older and begin to truly understand who they are, they will inevitably start asking their parents difficult questions. Not just about their grandfather, King Charles. Not just about their Uncle William, their Aunt Catherine, or their cousins George, Charlotte, and Louis. Dampier pointed out something that almost nobody else has mentioned in this entire conversation. Archie and Lilibet are also believed to have little or no relationship with Meghan's side of the family, particularly their other grandfather, Thomas Markle Sr. This is not a story about one estranged family. It is a story about two grandfathers on two different continents, both functionally absent from these children's lives for two completely different sets of reasons. Dampier said plainly, as they get older and realize who they are, they will be asking all sorts of questions of their parents as to why they are estranged from their families, not just the royals, but also Meghan's father and relatives. Think about the position that puts Harry and Meghan in. One day, not too far from now, a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old will become teenagers capable of fully understanding their own family tree, and they will look at it, and they will see entire branches missing. Both sides, and they will ask why. Now let us talk about what royal commentators believe is actually possible going forward, because the story is not entirely without hope. Royal historian Kate Williams, writing in The Telegraph, offered an analysis that genuinely reframes this entire situation. She pointed to historical precedent within the royal family itself, noting how cousins like Zara and Peter Phillips and Beatrice and Eugenie have shaped the relationships of previous royal generations, including Harry and William's own close bond with their cousins growing up. Williams wrote, quote, there may be little chance of Archie and Lilibet holidaying with George, Charlotte, and Louis at Balmoral over the summer, but it is quite possible that they will seek to strike up a relationship with their cousins as they grow older. She made a particularly interesting point about why royal cousins matter so much, especially for children carrying this kind of public weight. She said cousins understand the unique situation of being royal, and they can always be trusted in a world where friends sell stories. And then she offered the image that has been quoted across multiple outlets since, the one that captures the hope underneath all of this uncertainty. She wrote that perhaps one day, the cousins will stand together on the balcony of Buckingham Palace, side by side with the future King George. Let us talk about right now, because this story is not just historical. As of this report, IB Times UK has confirmed that conversations about an actual UK visit, with Archie and Lilibet potentially accompanying their parents, have reignited exactly these questions. The publication noted that more than 6 years after Archie was born and 5 years after Harry and Meghan stepped back from senior royal duties, remarkably little is actually known about who these two children are becoming, beyond the carefully curated glimpses their parents choose to share. Meghan has described Lilibet warmly and specifically. She called her Harry's, quote, favorite adventurer, and her own, quote, mama's little helper. For Lilibet's 4th birthday, Meghan wrote, 4 years ago today, she came into our lives, and each day is brighter and better because of it. These are the words of a genuinely present, loving mother. But they are also, by necessity, the only window the outside world has into who these children actually are. Royal George, Charlotte, and Louis grow up partially in public, photographed at official engagements, building a visible relationship with the institution and the country they will represent. Archie and Lilibet grow up almost entirely private, known to the world primarily through their mother's Instagram captions and the occasional confirmed report of a meeting that happened years ago. Here is what this story ultimately comes down to. Two children who did not choose any part of this, who call their father Papa just like their cousins do, who carry a grandmother's nickname and a grandfather's hopeful early embrace, are growing up in the gap between two families that cannot find their way back to each other. Royal commentators are divided on what comes next. Some believe Archie and Lilibet could one day become the bridge that finally repairs this rift, carrying none of the grievances their parents carry, capable of forming relationships with George, Charlotte, and Louis simply because children, given the chance, tend to do that. Others believe the division has already gone too deep, for too long, for even the next generation to undo. But underneath every theory, every royal expert's prediction, and every headline, the truth is simpler and more human than any of it. Two real children are growing up. Every single day, and one day, sooner than anyone seems ready for, they're going to ask their parents why. This is Royal Daily Report, and we will be here to tell you what happens when they finally do. That is all for tonight, friends. I am James, and this has been Royal Daily Report. If this story hit different for you, hit that like button right now. Subscribe if you have not already, and turn on those notifications because we drop new stories every single week. Share this video with one friend who loves royal news. I will see you in the next one. Until then, stay informed, stay curious, and stay royal. Goodbye, friends. Hello, friends. If you are not subscribed to Royal Daily Report yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that button right now.